Why do I use lacquer all the time instead of other finishes like polyurethane? Because lacquer dries really, really fast and I don't have a lot of time and I don't have a very long attention span. What happened to the applewood boxes and candle holder? Here's the applewood box. This was from an apple tree that was in my backyard that we cut down many years ago, and so I made this little box out of it. And I also made a little candle holder, and the strange thing is I just threw it away about 2 weeks ago, and it was just because I'm trying to just purge things from my life, and that was one of those things that was just sitting around, and I thought, you know, I've had it long enough. Is there any use for sawdust? Yeah, actually there's a lot of things you can do with sawdust. I have a whole list of them on my website. I'll post a link. What software do I use to create my templates? I use Adobe Illustrator for the 2D templates. Why is there a newly painted area above your garage? Did something happen? Oh, actually that goes back many, many years ago. I was actually some promotional stuff I was trying to do for Woodworking for Mere Mortals, and my wife made me paint over it. The funny thing is all those years ago, I was wearing the exact same clothes that I'm wearing today. What's the advantage of a miter sled over a miter saw? Accuracy. A miter sled will be just perfectly accurate every time. As long as you have your sled at 90-degree angle. If it's a little bit off one way or another, it doesn't matter because those two angles will add up to 90 degrees. How often do I tune my table saw? Actually, I don't. I just kind of leave it. Unless there's a problem with it, I don't really mess with it a whole lot. But when I do tune it, it's in the key of G. And that was the easiest setup for a joke ever. When are you gonna get Dr. House on as a guest woodworker? Remember back when I had the beard, everybody used to think I was Dr. House. I actually made a video about it. What's my opinion on safety gloves? Apparently there's a system with numbers. I don't really know anything about this. I don't use gloves except when I'm moving wood around, maybe a large sheet of plywood that I get from the lumberyard or something, and I need to carry it just to kind of, it's more comfortable, but I wouldn't recommend using gloves when you're doing woodworking. I think you really need to feel the wood and it's just safer to not use gloves. Do something funny. Well, it has to be in the form of a question to be on askmemo, so I can't include it. You've been mentioned over at Reddit often. Would you consider doing an AMA? Reddit kind of frightens me a little bit. It's so much text. I would consider doing an AMA, but that's sort of what I'm doing here. Unless you're talking about the American Music Awards. Well, I would do that too. Where can I get a cool woodworking for Mere Mortal cap? Well, like this one. I do still sell these. I don't promote that site very often because Cafe Press kind of makes me mad because they won't let me change my logo on that site, but I do still sell these. Go to my Cafe Press site. Have you ever been interrupted by an earthquake during the filming of a video? Not during the filming of a video, but the earthquake isn't as strange as all the reactions afterwards. People just have to tell what they were doing when the earthquake happened. Or whenever there's an earthquake, there's going to be at least a day of after tweets. Do nicer tools provide a nicer result? Well, by nicer, I assume you mean more expensive. This is a really big subject among woodworkers. My position is that for the average hobbyist woodworker, you don't need to spend a lot of money on tools to get pretty good results. What is that white plant next to my purple bench? You're probably talking about these, which are called dusty millers, and they really are interesting plants. They have that kind of that silvery white foliage, and the interesting thing about them is that they thrive best in really poor soil and poor watering conditions. It's almost like a weed. But all of these plants in our yard are drought resistant plants because California is kind of in a perpetual state of being in a drought, it seems. And so, you know, a lot of people are just trying to get rid of lawns.